I think I hear me.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
No, that was Carol King wrote it. His girlfriend who was married to Carly
Are
Simon
you
at the
turned
time.
on? You ready to
Who
record?
knows what happened prior to the
Okay.
marriage, but nonetheless they were friends. You may get a little tummy there, aren't you? Just a little tummy, just a little. Oh, definition. Oh,
Well,
sorry.
now that
Oh,
we're live, we have to start on time. One of the additional benefits, I guess. Welcome, everyone.
okay.
Welcome those that we haven't seen in a little
So
while.
got it. Okay.
I, I'm thinking,
You can play the leader.
I'm thinking
Oh,
we've missed
okay.
talking
All right.
with one another
Safe.
because we had such
Access
great
all
conversation this
reach
morning
groups.
in our study group. So it was wonderful to have
This
us,
is so
more
good.
of us, back together. Can you hear me?
Now,
Okay. Uh, Welcome this morning. We have Simon and EJ. Simone and EJ. Okay. From residents of Branson. Awesome. Glad to have you here this morning. Glad to have everyone here this morning. And as you see, we've implemented our wearing of our masks to be in sync with the day in which we live.
you look
And,
you look much better with it on too.
you know, I could use an improvement now and then, so I'm okay with that. But we continue to do what we can to be blessed in the presence of one another, and this is just one of those steps we can
Blessed in
take.
the presence.
We continue to implement more technology, and some folks are downstairs observing through the screen below, which was a vision we had, so that as more people come, we can maintain our distancing, and plus if you're downstairs, you can get up and run around and do whatever, a little more casual. So thanks, Chuck, for taking us further down the path, and appreciate that. Let us begin this morning with prayer together. We are blessed indeed. We've found our way in our journey to this very moment, individually and collectively. It is no accident or no coincidence. It is by being committed to our journey that we realize who we are in this moment. And we get to share that gift with one another. We get to hear. We get to feel together. And we get to forgive limitations of our past thoughts and take hold of the potential, our possibility for the now and tomorrow. And so we open completely to whatever this service brings this day. We accept it and we celebrate it and we give thanks. So, Spirit, have your way. And we say, Amen. Okay, let's have some music. Okay. Thank you. Okay. New task. So let me find myself here. Today's the 19th, isn't it? Thank goodness for large. Thank goodness for large print. All right. Today I share God's love, peace, and joy. While I treasure my times of quiet and solitude, I also look forward to enjoying the company of family, friends, and members of the faith community. Whether we're working, volunteering, praying, or simply enjoying one another's company, our shared experience allows me to support people I care about and feel supported in return. I enjoy and value togetherness throughout every season of my human journey. My times of trial, hardship, and grief, being in the company of friends and family helps comfort me and keep me strong. I likewise, during times of celebration, being in the company of others multiplies my joy. In times of togetherness, may the love, peace, and comfort and joy of God bless us all. All who believed were together and had all things in common. I think we realize that more now than ever. And there is a gift in it. Thank you for being together. Let us share the affirmation. I share God's love, peace, and joy. All right?
You first. Thank you. Whoops.
Good morning. So good to see so many here, and we have some people downstairs too, thanks to our technology. Well, we've had a mix up with our slides today. So good to see you. And you, here's the Zoomers. All right, we're all one here together. Did everybody get a basic principles card? We have more down. Oh, you didn't? Debbie needs one. Thank you, buddy. there was a group of us hanging out a few weeks ago, the first time we started services again, and we just couldn't leave the building. And we were sitting in the upper rooms here, and we were masked. We'd been masked all day, and I think maybe there was a little too much CO2 backup because we just got daffy. We didn't have a brain between us. And we're up there, and Skip asked me, he said, will you speak next month? And I said, yeah, but I just got done speaking. And I said, I just never have anything to say. And that's really how I feel. And then the time comes, if I have a date, the time comes and something comes to me through Spirit. So I said, I don't have anything to talk about, but if any of you have any ideas, I'm sure receptive. And one of them said, how about you talk about the unity principles? And I said, that's a good idea. And then someone else said, what are the unity principles? And I said, that's an even better idea, the more I think about it now. So I said, well, okay, we can do that. And the person said, well, but what are they? And it was explained that those are the principles in unity we live by. And they said, but what are they? And so we all looked at each other and trying to think, because there's only 5, right? But we were all just Zippo. So Skip apparently was the brains of the operation, and he raises his hand. He says, it's about God. And we're thinking, that's good because we're in church, And he said, and God's, it's everywhere. And not to be outdone, I had just a speck of brilliance to follow. And I said, and thoughts. There's something about thoughts, you think. So we were just daffy-brained, and Alana, at this point, the newer person asked, well, where are the unity principles? And I detected a little heat behind Alana as she got up, stomped out with her phone, and said, they're posted all over the church. And you can see them over there, and you can see them downstairs. I like the kids' version a whole lot better, but it's more succinct. But these are our basic principles. There used to be like 125 at Unity Village, and they pared them down to 25, and now we only have 5. But I think we were on to something, Skip. I think they ought to be bullet pointed because the sentence is kind of blah, 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 ramble on. Yeah. So these are our unity principles. And the first 4 we're supposed to study and assimilate. And then number 5 is all about living those truths out in the world. And forgive me, we don't have signs. Chuck and I had a mix-up, and so I'm just going to kind of tell you what was up there. So when we read it, Alana, the consummate school teacher, started to read them, and she'd run downstairs, taken a picture, sent it to us. I couldn't see it on my phone, so I ran downstairs. I can't get the picture right, taking it myself. So then I remember, I've got these little cards in my purse. I give them to everybody. So I run back upstairs, and at that point, she's sitting there, and she has read the first 4. So I'm just in time to hear the last one. And she reads the last one, which says, through thoughts, words, and actions. And then she stops because she heard it in a different way. She said, we live the truth we know. And someone else said, it's the truth we know. And someone else was like, it's the truth we know. Meaning the truth that we know. We're all right now living the truth we know, right? I mean, we might attain to be, have the consciousness of Gandhi or someone, but right now we are where we are. And there are different people in this congregation that I know have one of the truths down just brilliantly, and they're working on another, and the other person has another one down. And so it is with the group consciousness. But right now, we're working with our own personal truth. And what I want to share with you is how that intersects with our truth principles. The personal truth that we're living is really valuable. It's valuable to look at ourselves and see, what is my personal truth? Because we all have one. And the reason it's so important is because it's a gateway. It can be used as a navigational tool to tell us where we want to go. If I'm here, then I know that I need to go over here to do this or that. So it teaches us what we need to change if we look at where we are now. And I'll give you an example in a little bit so you have a better idea. So there's 2 kinds of truth in unity, and one is principle, and that's God, and that's never changing. So the sun coming up in the morning is a truth principle because it's going to go back down at night, and that's going to happen every single day, right? Yeah. That's never going to change. So a personal truth is different because we're going to change our personal truth. You know, we become more prosperous as the longer we're in unity. We become more confident the longer we're in unity. We become more attuned to Holy Spirit the longer we're in unity. So that personal change, that personal truth is always changing and we're always growing. Thank you, God. Now, the Fillmores, our way showers, they went straight to unity truth principles. And I've seen a lot of people in unity try to do this and not as successfully. So I want to talk about what's changed since then, because it's a different day, a different time, and we're different people. First of all, they were Victorians. So nobody ever talked about feelings. That was just a no-no in the Victorian world. I remember reading one of her letters right before she got married, and she said something like, yes, he's a fairly nice man. I thought, ooh, that's hot. Yeah, you know, but they just didn't talk about those things, yeah. And so they lived also in a very physical world. You know, fast food meant you got the food off your own farm. You didn't have to go to somebody else's farm and then come home and then, you know, get the water out of the well to clean it and then build a fire to cook, you know. Yeah, it was a very physical world. People didn't come home and talk about, yeah, I'm feeling this. The only thing they felt was tired most of the time, you know, yeah. So it was a different world. And also it was theirs to teach the world about truth principles. This was their calling. But most of all, what's different about them and than a lot of what we're dealing with sometimes is they already knew what was wrong. I've counseled with more people who say, I just don't know why I can't get ahead. You know, I work hard, I do this, and I'm still broke. You know, I'm a nice person, I go out, I meet people, and I'm still alone. I blah, 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 you know, and I still can't get this or I can't get that. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. You know, there's a million versions of that. And what the Fillmores knew, they already knew what was wrong with their picture. She knew that she had tuberculosis, and she knew that she had been programmed to have it since she was a little girl because the other people in her family had it. So she knew that. And then he had a skating accident and his hip was all mixed up. One leg was like 4 or 5 inches shorter than the other. Over his lifetime, they used truth principles. They just went directly to God, knowing what was already wrong, and they just affirmed their wholeness and their wellness, and he grew a couple inches onto his leg. She became totally and completely well. That started when she was in her 30s, and she lived to be in her 80s. So that's a big difference. We need to know what's wrong. We need to know what we're dealing with now before we can, you know, work on it. And that's why it's really good to know our personal truth. So looking at the personal truth, the truth that we know, that's a good place to start. I had a friend, for instance, and, you know, I go to Kansas City. I try to go every month, sometimes a little longer. But I was there with a couple lady friends. And we were spending our time together. And one of them had a really big problem. So 2 of us were focused on her and her issues. And she kept saying, you know, I can't do this. And we kept saying, well, you know, if you can't do your thing here, maybe you could do your thing there. We were trying to be really solution oriented. And she'd say, no, I can't do it there because if I do it there, I got to do it now. And I can't do it now, I got to do it then. And we'd say, okay, well, if you got to do it then, maybe you could do it like this. She'd say, no, I can't do it like this because I got to do it like that. And what I listened for in those kind of conversations is the mantra. And the mantra was, I can't. No matter what we say, I can't. We could have each said, we'll give you $1 million. We'd have been lying, but, you know, we could have said that. She'd have said, I can't take it. You know, I mean, she just was, I can't. And I got home, and I just loved this individual so much. I just prayed on it, and I thought, you know what? She really is locked up. Because after saying that so many times to herself, it was real. After a while, the physical world accommodates us, and she really was in a fix. And then I realized, oh my goodness, glory be, I have the same situation going on with myself, but in a different area. So that's one way that we see ourselves in one way that we know, at least I know what we have to do. The difference was with me, I knew I was at the juncture where we have to ask. And if you could see the slides I have, it would have said the answer is in the asking. Because when we get down to our personal truth, what happens is a bridge is built over living waters. And I had the visual of a bridge because that's the way I always see it. There's a bridge and it flows into the answer of whatever the question is. But the answer doesn't show itself until we ask. Jesus said the Father knows your every need even before you ask. And it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Many of you will remember Richard Bach's little book, Illusions. He said the is, no matter how well you've imagined it, the is has already imagined it a whole lot better. And it's true. And in unity, there's a lot of talk about creating. We're not really doing the creating. What we're doing is we're aligning with the truth that is already there for us. We couldn't think of the question if the answer wasn't already there. And I know that that's different than what you've been told, but I know for years and years I'd see things ahead of time, and then I'd find them in the physical. So there's a book about this. It's by the Divine Reverend Eric Butterworth, major unity minister. He's deceased now, but just a powerhouse. He would be like Unity's John Lewis. He's just a powerhouse. And the book is called The Universe is Calling. And it speaks to this really clearly. And we had great directors at Silent Unity, our prayer ministry in Kansas City, and they bought with their own money copies of this book and had them put in all the stations at Unity Village, in all the offices. And when people would take them, they'd just replace them. Because what the universe is saying is what I'm sharing with you now. The answer is already there. I used to design clothes all the time. And I had something to go to. I was in my late 20s. And so I was working on a dress. And I knew I wanted it black and da-da-da. And there's about 4 different kinds of fabric. And I couldn't get the sleeves quite right in my mind. And I was so used to design, it was a little frustrating. And it was coming up, and I didn't really have a lot of time. And out of the blue, my mother, I'd just moved to Southeast Kansas, and my mother said, you know, there's a sale at such and such, a really nice women's clothing store, somewhere I probably wouldn't normally shop. And she said, I'd just love to go in there and buy you a dress. And I said, okay. And in my mind, I thought immediately, this was some years ago, but I thought I'm not going to let her spend more than $29.99 because I knew she was frugal, and yet she wanted to be really generous. So we go to the store, and it must have been spring. And it just walking by the window, I thought, oh, this isn't going to work. It looked like, all the dresses looked like a bag of pastel marshmallows. You know, you've seen those, yeah. It's like, And I knew the dress had to be black. Well, you know, there's no way. It's like prom dress kind of thing. Yeah, and you know, I was about the size I am now. And so the sizing was okay, but we go in there, and I'm about to, So we go in there, and it's just pastels and pastels and pastels, and it's all pastels. And I look at my mom, and she looks at me, and my mom had this weird thing about faith. She was really good with faith. And she'd say, you know, you got to have faith. And I looked at her, and I knew that's what she was thinking. And I thought, yeah, right, we're in a sea of marshmallows, and I'm looking for a black dress. So suddenly, she's walking towards me, and I see a speck of black on the rack. And I said, Mom, is that a dress over there? I thought, it can't be. It's a paper bag or a plastic bag or something. And she said, yeah, and it looks like you. I said, what size? And it was a 5 or a 7, whatever. And I said, really? And so I go to look at it. It's the one black dress in the store. It's my size, fit perfectly. And the reason I couldn't figure out the sleeves, it was designed just as I had designed it, thinking I'm doing it. But I was just picking up on what was already there. The sleeves were made in a way I'd never made sleeves before, and that's why I couldn't figure it out. So it fit perfectly, and of course it was $29.99. So we're just picking up on what is, and when we get used to it, when we're praying, a lot of times we'll get a visual of that answer. So if we know where we are, then we can go to our principles, and of course, it says right here, there's one presence and one power active in the God. It's God. In the universe and in my life, God the good. So we know that we are co-creating with God. Number 3, we are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. So that's how we co-create. And the answer is in the asking. Pulling the question out of us, it's just begging to be asked. But until we ask, we can't get the answer. So people do this in so many different ways, and I marvel at it. I have a friend here who in this part of the country who had a vision, oh, good 2-3 years ago, of something they wanted to do for a living in their next chapter. And they're already well established in their field. And it was a kind of healing, a kind of a social work, a kind of something. And there weren't any jobs like that because there aren't. And my friend just kept looking at it. And that's how my friend asked. They just kept their mind on it, and they kept seeing what they could find, and they kept studying what they already knew and getting good at what they already knew. And they told me a couple weeks ago that they're so excited because suddenly there's a way. Through the advent of the situation with George Floyd, it's become evident that the police department and that whole institution needs to be reevaluated and restructured. And not just for the public. You know, very few officers ever shoot their guns. And these people that sign up for that work, they're not signing up to be property managers or rehabilitation experts, mental health people. You know, they're asked to do so much that really isn't their job. So they deserve to have that looked at as well. And now my friend finds that they're opening up exactly what they want to do. And they're beginning classes for it. And because they've kept their mind on it, they kept their eye on the prize, they were a shoo-in and they were accepted. And there's very, very few people that are accepted into this now. So the way creates itself when that is ours to do. So we don't want to get in the way of what God has already established for it. So why don't we just ask? It's really simple. Why don't we ask? Why don't we ask Jesus the Christ for that we want? These are just some of the quotes. There's numerous quotes on asking and receiving. John 8:32. Jesus said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." And I want to make sure that I talk about a distinction here. We're used to saying, because we're used to hearing, it'll set you free. And that's not the right translation. It's make. And here's the difference. When someone sets you free, it has to be someone outside of ourselves, right? Like the prison guard is going to set the prisoner free. Making is self-empowering. It allows us to free ourselves. Yeah. So it's a whole different thing, because setting us free is an external experience, and making ourselves free is internal. Yeah. So if someone sets us free, it's actually an event. When we make ourselves free, that's our own experience. So it's a whole different bag. So when we ask for that, we want to make sure that we make ourselves free. Setting ourselves free has time restrictions too, and making ourselves free is time transcendent, because we're in charge. 1 Kings 3:5, and God said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Yeah. Hello? Yeah. Simple. You know, we have a way of confusing everything. I do. I'm a master at it. Yeah. Philippians 4:6. Be careful for nothing, which means don't worry about a thing, right? But in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. Matthew 7:7. Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. Mark 11:24. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever you desire when you pray, believe that you'll receive them and you shall have them. That's because they're already there. The universe is calling. Yeah. Luke 32. It usually says my little flock. That's a mistranslation, so we're going to use my disciples. Fear not, my disciples, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. I know you've heard that. John 15:7. If you abide in me and my words in you, you will ask for what you desire, and it shall be done for you. Well, last time I spoke, I talked about my blues boyfriend. I also have a country western boyfriend. Well, he's Willie Nelson. I mean, who doesn't love that man? Yeah, he's an American treasure for sure. He used to help us at the Maui church. He's just such a sweetheart. And years ago, he was on Dateline, or one of those shows, being interviewed. And I think it was after he came out with that glorious song, "You Were Always on My Mind." And they asked him, how is it, decade after decade, I mean, since the 50s, he's come up with something. I think he's 104. I'm not sure now, but he's still doing it. Yeah. And they said, how do you do that? How do you manage that? Where does that come from? And he looked really confused because he's the most humble human being. And he said, well, I just reach up and I pull them down and I play them on my guitar. So any of you want to be songwriters, that's how you do it. Yeah. And then he looked at him because the people didn't know what to say to that. What do you say to that? And he said, you know, they're already there. They're already there. And St. Willie just pulls them down and plays them. But what's different, we have some great guitar players and writers here, but they couldn't pull that down because they pull down the songs that are in line for them to pull down and sing, which are also gloriously good. People might not know of them in the outside world yet, but we are blessed with it here and some other places. So when you have someone, when we are as true to ourselves as he is, we can't help but pull down what is right for us. It's right work, it's right partnerships, it's right places, it's the right thing to do, it's the right everything. And the way we get in touch with ourselves, the best way to get in touch with our true self, is to go within and recognize that Christ Spirit within us. I mean, it's a rare and wonderful gift. And we're not in this all on our own, trying to manifest everything we need. It's already been done, I assure you. So, here's an idea. How about we answer the call ourselves in the same way that St. Willie does? We just get in touch with our own Christ. We ask for what we want, and then we just stay open for receiving. But we remember to ask. And in that asking, that's how we co-create. And also we need to move forward when we get an answer. Because too often I know so many people, and I've been guilty of this too, we stand back and go, well, that's a happy thought, but I couldn't do that. Yeah, so, you know, when God gives it to us, we need to move on it. So let's do this. Let's take that powerful idea and the power in each of you, and let's take that into meditation. And I invite you to take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, drop your attention down into your heart and becoming comfortable and centered, keeping your eyes closed. I invite you to let go of everything that's come before this moment. And as we join our hearts and our minds together today, we thank God for this spiritual community and for all those who serve here. Today we celebrate the power of the Christ within our own hearts and the power we have within our own minds. Today we remember to think carefully about the desires of our heart. And we come into the awareness of our own personal truth, so we may use it as a navigational tool, showing us where we are now, that we might rise onto our own God-given path, already established for us. Today we become more conscious of our ability to ask God for that which we desire. We ask knowing it is indeed the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. And with that knowing, in this powerful group consciousness, let us move into the silence. And in this silence, I invite you to silently affirm the following true statements for yourselves. I am a uniquely gifted expression of God. I am grateful for the truth that makes me free. I am now empowered to serve through the Christ within me. And as you bring your attention back into the physical and back into your body, you bring that quietly powerful sense of clarity into your conscious awareness. And it is with this feeling of clarity and purpose we move forward, each of us meeting our own personal truth with the individual truth principles that guide us, meshing those together, our personal truth and our principles, as they become one. And as we do, we give thanks, knowing as we continue to ask, a bridge is built across which whatever we desire has already been God-given. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is. Namaste. Oh, bless you.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Lead all the way through. That's right. Okay.
Thank you for that wonderful message, Cynthia. And thank you to over there, the dynamic duo, the beautiful music. Okay. Better reel them back in. Let us, anything we need to mention? Anything? Okay. Let us join in our prayer of protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. Wherever I am, I am. Yes.
Buddy, you might ask everybody who's watched this today to write down their comments and send them to a board member, friend, or else.
Yeah. Yes. If you watch this from home or wherever through Zoom, we'd like your feedback. We'd like to know how's the audio, the visual, anything else. We really need to get your input because we don't see it from here like you see it. So please share with us, and we will continue to tweak things and get it as best we can. And I think that's about it for today. Have a wonderful day, and we'll hope we'll see you again in just a few days, if not sooner. All right.